When you're working in Draw, you will definitely want to zoom in and zoom out on your objects as you work on the page. There are a number of ways to do it, and they're pretty much the same from Draw to Paint. First of all, let's go to the most obvious one, and that is up on the standard toolbar. Here we have zoom levels. I'm looking at 100%, and I can just go to these preset percentages. I can go right out or zoom up close to the object like this. I'll also do it to fit, to page, to width, and to height, like that. Let's just go over to Photo Paint, and we can see it works pretty much the same way. Here we can go down to 5% where it's tiny, go up to 75%, 300%, and I can go right up to 1600% here, and I'm down editing at a pixel level. That's each individual pixel on the screen we can see there. And then we can go to fit. That's where we started, and that just fits the image into the window that you have open. If I resize the window like this and choose to fit, it resizes to fit in here. It also shows the percentage you're showing it at the moment. Notice if I resize this window again like this and choose to fit, it goes from 53% to 68%. You can come up here and type in figures you want. I thought I typed 75, but I guess I didn't. 75 like that, or 300 like that. You can type anything you wish. Let's move over to Draw, and of course the same thing is there. 300, 500, or real zoom in like that. You get a lot closer. 1,000 moving in like that. Let's go back and hit it to fit the page. Now we'll look at the other options using the zoom tool. In Corel, you have two options when you choose the zoom tool. We'll just look at the zoom tool itself at the moment. And notice up in the property bar that our icons have changed. Over on the left, we have the zoom levels, and those are exactly the same as the ones we have in the standard toolbar. Go over to Paint. We can select the zoom tool here. Again, there's a flyout, but we don't need to worry about that. And then we have some options over here on the property bar. We do have a help one that isn't in Corel, and we have a couple that are a little bit different, but not too much. We'll cover them. Over here, you can choose your percentages, just like up here. Let's go back to Draw, and we'll look at how the zoom works here. If we have the zoom tool selected like this and click like this, we can just zoom in on an object. If we hold down the Shift key, we zoom out like this. Again, over in Photo Paint, zoom in, Shift key, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, like that. However, there is these tools up here which is zoom in and zoom out, and they do work a little bit differently. Let me choose the zoom in tool here. If I click on it like this, it zooms in automatically like that. Let's go over to Corel. We'll take a look at the same thing. Zoom in, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Now the difference is that this will zoom in the center of the page, and it'll zoom out to the center of the page. However, if we use this zoom option here, the one that's selected, it will zoom to where we click. So if I click over here, up here in the top left-hand corner, that will now be the center of my drawing, like that. I can't see anything. Hold the Shift key, come here. That becomes the center of my drawing. Shift key, zoom out, click around this part here, and notice that wherever I'm clicking becomes the center of my image when it zooms out. Conversely, it just zooms out when we hit the minus sign. Going over to Paint, it works exactly the same way. If I'm zooming in on this piece of paper here, I can click it like that, as opposed to this one, which zooms in just to the middle every time. So, for all intents and purposes, this one's probably a little better to work with, although there are other options. And we'll take a look at those coming up in the next movie. In this movie, I'm going to talk about marquee zooming. Now, when I'm working in Corel on my own projects, I marquee zoom all the time. So this is a very useful way to zoom in and out of your objects. First of all, you select the zoom tool like this, and I'm going to show you a faster way of doing it a little bit later on in this movie. And you press down and drag a marquee around the area you want to work on, and when you've got it, you release like that. Then you can work in this, and if you want to zoom out, you can hold down the Shift key notice that your zoom tool has a minus sign in it, and we zoom out again like that. Let's just switch over to Photo Paint here, and I've got the zoom tool selected, and we can do the same there. Again, press and drag for a marquee, and we zoom in. We can zoom right in at the pixel level, and again hold down the shift key and click, and we zoom out like this. Notice that in Paint it zooms out in increments, whereas when we did it in Corel here and zoomed out, we zoomed back to the previous level. Now I'm going to show you a slightly faster way of doing it, and that is by using some of the quick keys. This is one that I always remember because I do it so much. Now it's the F2 key. So if you hold down the F2 key like that, you'll see that it turns into the zoom tool. Now you don't have to keep the F2 key held down, you can just press it. Then you can do a marquee around your object, and you'll notice we're immediately back at the pick tool. I'm going to zoom out, and if you do it this way, it's a good idea to remember the zoom out keys, and Shift F3 zooms out to that previous level, or Shift F4 takes you to the full page mode. The other way you can do this is select the zoom tool, and after you've zoomed in, if you hit the space bar, and this works with any of these tools down here, you'll automatically move back to the pick tool like that. However, I prefer the F2 key because it just removes that one step, so I can hit the F2 key like this, zoom in, and immediately I've got the pick tool where I can come in and select objects. So that is a very fast way of doing things. It doesn't work the same way in Photo Paint. You have to manually go back and switch to the selection tool. If you hit the space bar, you'll notice I'm just toggling between the two tools in this flyout. So that shortcut mainly works with Coreldraw, and again I'm just going to hit Shift F4 to go back to the main page. Here we're going to talk about panning, which is moving around the page in the same view. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to come over to the zoom tool, I'm going to hold it down and choose the hand grabber tool. H is a shortcut key if you want to remember it, and if I press down and drag like this, you can see that I can move the page around there, but not in the same part of the working area. Doesn't make too much sense there, but let me zoom in a little bit here, and I'll go to 50%. Sorry, I went the wrong way there. I'll go up to 200% there, and of course it makes more sense here. So if I'm sitting in working on this watch here and need to go over and work on the fish, I can just press and drag like this, drag over there to the fish. And of course it works pretty much the same in Paint. Come over, select the hand grabber tool. Now I'm in Fit to Page, and if I press, nothing happens here like this because there's no area for me to go around. So in that sense, it works a little differently from Draw. But let me just zoom in a little bit here. I'll hit the zoom tool a few times like this. Now I've still got the hand grabber selected. I can come in and use the hand grabber to move about from one object to the next. Press and drag, press and drag, press and drag like that. Let me zoom back out just a little bit here, maybe go to 100%. I can still hand grab and move around like that. Now it sticks on the hand when you do that, so you can switch back by hitting the space bar, and it'll toggle you as always between the object pick tool and the hand grabber, or the last selected tool, of course, is what it is. Now there is another way to do a similar effect, and that's down here on your scroll bars. You see you've got your left and horizontal and vertical scroll bars here, and in the bottom we have a little square. When I move my cursor over it, I've got a crosshair, and if I press down, we can see a window, a little thumbnail of the picture, and as I move around, you can see where it's going to land like that. Let me zoom in quite a bit here. I'll go to 500% here and go down here, and then if I want to move up there, I can scroll in on it again over here, scroll in on it like that. And that's a good way to pan across your image. Let's go over to Draw, and let me just zoom in a little bit more, go to 400% like this, and of course we have the same option right here. Zoom in on the fish, press, zoom in here, and if I had my selection tool selected here like this, as soon as I release, of course, I'm at the selection key like that. So that's a great way to do it. And there is one more way to do it that I like, and is very similar to what I showed you in the last movie, where you can go to the zoom tool and automatically go back to the pick tool, and that's customizing the hand grabber. Now, I'm showing you this customizing with the hand grabber, but you can do it with virtually any tool here. Let's go to the options, and we'll go to our commands. So we'll go down to customization, commands, and we'll go to the view commands here. Now, if I scroll down here, you can see the hand grabber here. That's the same one we've been using, but if I scroll down a little bit more, there's pan 1, and there's a 1 beside it. I'll select this one. It says pan 1 shot. And I'm going to create a shortcut key to it, and I use Q. You can use whatever one as long as it really doesn't conflict to something else. If I had a sign and it was conflicting with something else, it would come up here and let me know. So I'll click on OK now. Now, if I'm using the pick tool, going in and editing something, and I need to use the panning tool, I just hit the Q on the keyboard, and then I move there. Notice that when I finish, I'm immediately at the pick tool again. So I hit Q, go down there like that, Q, like that. I'm not saying this way is the best, it's the way I use it, and you may find that a faster way to do it than that, or one that works better with your workflow. Now, that one-time hand panning tool does not exist within Photo Paint, so it is just a draw option. But however, there are plenty of other options within Photo Paint to use the panning. Here we're going to take a look at the advantage of having more than one window open of the same document. Here we've got this document over. We're in Paint, and we'll go to Window and hit New Window. I'll just bring it back to fit for the time being here, and they're both exactly the same. So what's the point of having two open? Well, let's tile them so that we can see them together. We'll go Window, Tile. We can tile horizontally like this, or Window, Tile vertically. There, we've got this one vertical. Now, I'm just going to keep this view. I could go into a different view, but this happens to be a pretty good one. I'm just going to come over and just reposition it using the navigator here. And this one here, I'm going to come over and select it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in on this, and I'm going to do some editing. So I'm going to come down here and just do some editing. So I'm going to do something pretty dramatic here. So I'm going to choose the sprayer here, and I'm going to add a little bit of fire. I'm going to change the size of it a little small, down to 100 here. And I'm just going to press and drag some fire down here like this. And you notice I can see it in this view over here. If I just go back to fit, sorry, I meant to do it to the other one there, but that's okay. Makes no difference. I'll go over to the zoom tool here, select this one, zoom in this one, and then go back and add more fire. And then you can see it down here. I'm working at almost close to a pixel level, but over here I'm viewing it in the full page mode like this, and you can see how it shows up there like that. So that's a great way to work if you're working down in low detail on one image, and then you can preview it in full page mode on the other one. Let's switch over to Draw, and of course it works the same way. Window, New Window, and then we'll tile them. I'll tile them vertically again. I've got a blank window open there, so that don't want that, so we'll just tile vertically like this, and we can see them both. Again, I can come in the active window, zoom in like this on it, and then come in and maybe select some of these, change the color, select the background. I'll make it a little bit more dramatic so that we can see it there, and then come in, and then of course we're previewing these changes as it happens over there.